Let's see. So far, oh, all right, we have a participant in. How exciting. All right, hi, everybody. Good morning. It's afternoon, I guess, over here. I'm on the East Coast, so it's noon over here. Welcome to the Getting Ready webinar for WCIL Gives. This is going to be a webinar style kind of training today, so you'll notice that you are muted and your video is turned off, and that's really just the way for us to keep things efficient moving forward. That way, if you're moving about in the office and having conversations, which is totally fine, it doesn't interrupt the rest of the folks that are listening in. That being said, we'll do our little housekeeping items to get everything started. I think most people at this point are pretty familiar with Zoom, but if you're not, just look at the little Zoom panel that's at the bottom of your screen right now and locate the chat and then the Q&A feature. My goal today is that we can be as interactive as possible during this training. It kind of makes it a little bit easier and more fun on my end. So if you want to kind of chat amongst yourselves and be able to like share strategy, things like that, please use the chat feature. If you have any specific questions that come up during the training today, if you can use the Q&A feature, that kind of just helps to keep the conversations separate for me and easier to track. So that way I know questions that come in and things that we need to answer. Both myself and Callie will be monitoring the Q&A today. So if anything comes up that I feel like is kind of more specific to your organization and something we can answer on the fly through text, we'll just kind of respond back to you. If there's any question that feels like it would be really great for the entire group to be able to hear about it, we'll either try to answer that live as the question comes up, or we'll wait until the end where we'll have some time for question and answer to be able to really like dive into more specific things. So again, just kind of want this to be as interactive as possible. We want everyone to be able to leave the call today feeling like you learned something and are ready to kind of take the next steps to get ready for WCIL Gibbs. So without further ado, Callie, if you want to say hi, and then we can take it from there.
Thank you. So welcome everyone. I see a lot of familiar names here. So excited about this giving event. This is year one. So we decided we wanted to start a giving event for our region, smack dab in the middle of summer. A lot of giving events are at the end of the year. We're just trying something new and excited that you're wanting to be a part of it. But Natalie really is the professional here. We're using Mighty Causes platform, which makes all of this super easy. And so I'm learning along with you. Again, this is year one. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help, but I'm also here learning with you from Natalie. So I'll let her take it away.
Awesome. So before we get started, I actually have a couple polls that I wanted to launch just to get a better understanding of like who's attending the call, what you're hoping to learn. So I think the first thing that I'm going to launch, if you all want to take a second and be able to give me some feedback, is what are you hoping to learn from this conversation that we're having today? Obviously, I have a preset group of slides of things that we have already determined would be really helpful to cover with everyone. I'll try to add some additional things on the fly if people answer other and put in, any additional things that they want to be able to learn. Worst case, if there's something that's super specific that you were hoping to get from the call today, we don't have time to answer. Callie and I will make sure that you are either followed up with individually or we build that into the nonprofit toolkit to make sure that you feel confident in whatever that question that you came here with. Perfect. I love a group of people that answer questions. Thank you. Sometimes I launch these polls and nobody responds at all, and I just have to kind of like make up what the results are, but everyone is responding, so I really appreciate that. It seems like overall the trend is just learning a little bit more about WCIL Gives, when it is, what it is, why it is, and kind of the basis of an online fundraising campaign. And then we have, what resources exist to help me as I prepare for WCIL Gibbs. And I have to give kudos to Callie, who has been working super hard behind the scenes to put together a really awesome nonprofit toolkit for all of you, full of, again, kind of trainings that we're doing today, content to be able to help you, and then kind of guides and things to walk you along the way. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in our training today. So thank you all for answering that question. And then the last poll that I have, and let's see if I can get this up and launching, is launch. Giving me a better idea of who here on this call has already registered for WCIL Gives versus those of you who are kind of using this as more of like a learning opportunity to decide if WCIL Gives is right for you. We're going to do a little bit of talking about how to register, and if this was a whole group of people who are already registered, we probably skipped that part, but it looks like we're getting some good answers in right now, and we have a decent amount of folks on this call today who have not yet registered for WCIL Gives. So welcome. We're excited to have you. And hopefully we'll be able to answer some of those questions that you have. That way you feel confident to start that registration process and get going. So thank you everyone for doing that. And okay, so it looks like the people that have registered have already started to dive in and to do some customizations on their organization page. So kudos to you. Thanks for getting going. We appreciate that. Wonderful. All right, so I think we're ready to get started with our webinar. I might turn my video off because I have two screens and I have my screen over here and you just have to see my side profile the whole time, but just know that I am here. I'll pop back in as we answer questions. It's just a little bit easier to manage content, see questions and everything, and you don't have to watch me kind of boggle around as I look at all my screens. So let's go ahead and get ourselves started. So again, welcome to the Getting Started webinar with Mighty Cause. Our agenda today, my hope is that we're going to kind of go over the WCIL Gives basics, answer, when is it, what time is it happening, what are the things that you need to know in order to participate and be successful. We're going to walk through the registration process because it seems like there's a good amount of people that are on the call today who you represent an organization who is not yet registered to participate in the giving event, but you are interested enough to be able to come and to learn more about it. We're going to talk about how to build your profile so that way you present kind of the best looking face for your organization during WCIL Gives and provide the best user experience for your donors to be able to support you. And then we'll have a big chunk at the end for question and answer. We already had a fantastic question come through, so thank you, Adam. He asked, will this slide deck be available afterwards? Yes. So the webinar that we're doing today is being recorded. My hope is that usually, probably by the end of this afternoon, if not kind of midday tomorrow, we'll have the recording from this training available on the WCIL Gives nonprofit toolkit and the slide deck as well for folks who need to kind of follow along, rewatch, or for anyone who's interested that didn't have the opportunity to be able to join live today. So great question. And again, that will hopefully be by end of day today, but I have to kind of download everything, put it into YouTube, and sometimes that could take a little while. So worst case, look for it about midday tomorrow on the nonprofit toolkit. And then a little bit later in this training, I will show you how to access the nonprofit toolkit so you know where to go looking for the recording once you're ready to watch it. So first question that we're here to answer is, what is WCIL Gives? What are the basics? So WCIL Gives, this is the first year that this is being launched, and it's hosted by the Tracy Family Foundation, which Callie represents. It is a 4-day fundraising campaign starting on June 9th at 8 a.m. Central through June 12th at 11:59 p.m. Central. And you might be asking yourself, maybe this is the first time that your organization has participated in an online fundraising kind of challenge. And so how does this work? The beauty of WCIL Gives is that it's a really great opportunity for your organization to be able to get your face, your cause in front of a new group of people that you might not otherwise have had a captive audience. So multiple nonprofits fundraising to participate, multiple nonprofits driving their donor bases to the WCIL Gives website to be able to give during that 4-day campaign. The benefit of that, right, is that your organizations might not know each other, you might not be close kind of geographically, and so new donors and new eyes are coming to this website space where your organization also exists. So again, it's a really great way to get your organization and your cause in front of a new audience and hopefully be able to capture and retain new donors. And again, working collectively, I think, as nonprofits to be able to raise money for your events and your causes. And it's a super great way, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, and we have a lot of resources in your nonprofit toolkit about it, but an online fundraising campaign is a really great way to really motivate your donors and your supporters and to get them involved in a new way with your organization. Allowing them to help you fundraise through being a peer-to-peer fundraiser. Possibly if you're interested, they might be able to sponsor a matching grant. And if they do, that's something that you'll kind of talk with our team or Callie's team about, how that works and how you would set that up. So again, just really a great way to be able to get in front of a new audience and to get your constituents more involved with your organization. So what are the next steps? What does your nonprofit need to do? First things first, I'm glad that we have a big group today of admins who represent nonprofits who are interested in WCIL Gives, but you might be a little bit on the fence about, is this right for me? How do I register? How do I get started? So the most important thing that you need to know is that you need to register for WCIL Gives by April 30th in order to participate. So you do have plenty of time, technically, but I would say that I really would encourage you to get registered as soon as possible, because that way you have access to your profile, you can start building out your content, you can start learning more about how to, work and navigate on Mighty Cause. A lot of the resources that are available in the nonprofit toolkit will become more applicable to you because you'll learn about peer-to-peer fundraising. You'll learn about kind of all of those functionalities of fundraising that we have available through Mighty Cause. So step one is to get yourself registered. Step two is to create and customize your profile on Mighty Cause. And so a big chunk of what we're going to talk about today is after registering, how do I access my organization page? How do I build out my page? What are some of these things that it's asking me to do? For some of you, you have more limited capacity because you're running a lot of campaigns right now, or maybe you're an all volunteer run nonprofit and you don't have a lot of people to be able to work behind the scenes on this. And so maybe you're asking yourself, like, what is the bare minimum in a way that I can do in order to participate and make that be a good experience for my donors? So we're going to walk through all of that today. And then we want you to be able to promote your campaign, via social media, email, events, and invite your supporters to engage with your organization through peer-to-peer fundraising. And most importantly, is be able to raise money for the incredible causes that you all represent. So let's go ahead and talk about, how do I get started? First things first is registering your nonprofit to be able to participate. So I actually prefer to do a little bit of like hopping over to the live site because I think that's a little bit more helpful for some folks. So let's go ahead and open up the WCIL Gives website right here. If you haven't been here yet, that is your first stop. So WCILgives.org is where this giving event lives. Right here in this main kind of header of the landing page, you're going to see a blue button that says register. So that's the first button that we want to engage with. This registration page is full of really, really helpful information that Callie and myself put together to make sure that you are ready to be successful in registering your nonprofit for WCIL Gives. The first thing that we need to do when we get to this page is to read through all this information and then click on this drop down depending on what your organization type is. So if you are a 501c3, like a standalone 501c3, you're going to have different registration instructions than someone who is potentially, fiscally sponsored or a local chapter of a larger national organization. So it's really, 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 really important, and I'll say really one more time, but it's really important for you to read through the instructions depending on what type of organization that you are. Once you've read through your instructions, you'll scroll down a little bit on the page, and this is the registration form for WCIL Gives. Again, I want to impress that if you are a traditional kind of 501c3, you will likely already be available in our Mighty Cause database to be able to search by your EIN, find your organization, select it, and begin registering. The tricky part is that if you are a fiscally sponsored organization or you are a local chapter of a national affiliate, and if you don't read these instructions, you'll be tempted to come in here, type in your EIN, you see something that matches it, you click it, and you register, but we don't want you to do that. We want to create an individual fundraising page for your specific organization that is separate from your fiscal sponsor or separate from your national organization that you're nested under. So just please make sure to read through these instructions. If you find yourself on this page and you are like, I am truly not sure what I am or like how I fall into these categories, the best thing that you can do is come down here to where you see can't find your organization, create it now. If you click on create it now, that puts you in a form that allows you to be in direct contact with our support team working behind the scenes at Mighty Cause. And so this little form will ask you for more information about your organization. And that's where you can give as much detail as possible about your organization setup. You could say, I am a local school district, I am a local school, I fall under this specific school district. I think I need to fundraise, attached to them, but I need to do this. I need money to go XYZ. Again, as specific quickly as you can be with our support team. And then our support team will read through that form. They'll get back to you and they'll work with you on what is the best way to set you up to make sure that you can register and participate in WCIL Gives. So again, if you are just kind of a traditional 501c3, search, find, register yourselves. If you fall into kind of a gray area where you're using someone else's EIN or you're under kind of a national affiliate, come here, click create it now, and go through those next steps. That's probably the most important thing for you all to hear as you're on the cusp of getting ready to register for the event. The other thing that I think is important to note is that we do have an approval process for WCIL Gives. So once you go through the process of registering and completing the short form that asks you for some information about your organization, you'll land on a screen that we call like a confirmation page. And so it'll let you know that you have successfully submitted your registration for WCIL Gives. And then you'll be put in a pending status for the Tracy Family Foundation team to review your registration and determine if you are eligible or not to be able to participate in this giving event. Typically, it'll be about 24 to 48 hours for that approval to come through. In the event that it's a little bit longer, we just ask that, again, you be patient. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to our support team and we'll give you that contact information here in a little bit. And then kind of our next step, once we have access to our profile, and I'll show you this in a little bit, but being able to add and remove additional administrators to your page. So that'll just be one person that comes here and it has the responsibility of registering your nonprofit for the giving event. And then once you are approved, you can go into the back end of your page and you can add as many administrators as you need in order to be able to be successful. So again, just make sure that you're all on the same page for your organization, that only one person is registering you, but then after that's all set, you can have as many team members as needed to have access to the back end of your organization page. Perfect. So yes, step one was getting yourself registered, and now I'm registered. How do I access my organization dashboard? So once you're successfully registered, moving forward, you're going to be in and out of your dashboard, preparing, building out your page for WCIL Gives. So how to access once you've been successfully approved, you'll go to WCIL Gives website. So again, that's WCILgives.org. You'll see up here, I'm already logged in, but if you're not logged in, there'll be a little option in the top right corner that says log in, and you'll be prompted to provide your username, your password. And then once that's all set, you'd come here and you'd be able to click and then see the organizations that you manage. Mine's a little bit different because I'm on the admin side of things, so you see more options, but you'd be able to see your organization name there to be able to select and to be taken to the back end of your organization page. So that looks similar to what we see in this screenshot here. So WCILgives.org, you'll log in the top right corner, and then once you're logged in, you'll click on your name, and then you'll see your organization there for you to be able to go to the back end of that organization page. And this will land you on your organization dashboard. So your organization dashboard is the space where you manage your organization's fundraising efforts. And then you can customize things like your profile page, your donation flow. You can manage your fundraising campaigns and download donation reports. So you're going to see a couple tabs on the left-hand side of your organization dashboard. I'm going to go over them just really briefly to tell you what kind of things you can do in those tabs. So the first tab, which we can see here, is your overview tab. This is where you can access kind of your key fundraising metrics. You can see what your current registration status is, and you can manage your to-do list, which we'll dive into in a bit to tell you what that to-do list is and how you can complete it. The next tab we can see here is your organization page. So that tab will allow you to customize your nonprofit's profile. So that's really what your donors are going to see during WCIL Gives, and that's the page you'll kind of share out with your community and constituents to drive them to donate for WCIL Gives. The next tab we have here is called Fundraising Tools, and that's where you can manage all of your fundraising efforts for your nonprofit. So peer-to-peer fundraising, if you do happen to have interest and capacity to take on a matching grant, that's where you'd be able to go to manage that as well. Our next tab we have is Reports, and so that allows you to access your donation data and customize your donor experience. We have Checkout, which you can see has a couple options here, and this is where we manage our donation form. We can work on our thank you page, and we can put in some information about our receipt. And then last but not least, we have a settings tab here, which is where we can manage and handle all of our admin access and adjust some of your like overall organization settings. So one thing that I want to talk about when it comes to the back end of your profile, and so we're going to hop over here. This is actually our demo website. And so this is just kind of a fake nonprofit that we use for kind of training purposes. You'll see that there are going to be some locations on your dashboard where there might be this little like blue flame. And if you click on it, it tells you that this is only available for people with a Mighty Cause subscription. So I want you to know that everything that you have access to on your dashboard that doesn't have a blue flame is something that we recognize as an integral part and component for a nonprofit to be able to have access to be successful in a giving event. And so you get free access to all of these things as a registered participant of WCIL Gives. Anything that you see that has a little flame is kind of something that is more useful for nonprofits that utilize our Mighty Cause platform year round for their actual, like all of their fundraising efforts they manage through Mighty Cause. And so those organizations sometimes will upgrade to a subscription plan because they're utilizing us for full year-round, like robust fundraising support versus more of a one-off, giving event that you're participating in. So anything that you see here, I don't want anyone to think that once you're registered for WCIL Gives that you need to pay to do something else. Absolutely do not need to do that. If you end up really loving the Mighty Cause experience and like want to transition to do more of your year-round fundraising through Mighty Cause, that's definitely a conversation to kind of evaluate after the giving event. But just know that you should have access to everything that you need to be successful. The other thing that I want to point out is that we want to make sure that when you log in and access your organization page, that you're always doing that through the WCIL Gives website. So WCILgives.org, log in the top right corner. A really, really common question that we get in our support center from nonprofits that are, on a giving event that's being hosted on Mighty Cause for the first time is that they get to the back end of their profile and they're like, everything seems to be blocked off for me and I can't do anything. Some nonprofits will go to mightycause.com and then they log in that way. You can kind of think of it as a different door. So logging in through Mighty Cause signifies to the system that you're trying to do more of like year-round fundraising, and it doesn't give you access to those tools that you're getting for free by participating in WCIL Gives. So the first step is just always making sure that you're going to the giving event website, so WCILgives.org, and then logging in the top right corner, and that will make sure that you're in the right place from the start. Perfect. All right, so back over here. So let's kind of go through the steps and kind of back end of your organization dashboard to see what that process looks like. And I see a lot of chat going in the chat. So I appreciate, Callie, you're doing a lot behind the scenes. Yeah, if you want to just kind of keep an eye on some questions that we'll hold for later, that's perfect. And just again, a general reminder that using that Q&A feature for some questions too allows kind of Callie to answer them and put them out of the queue versus leave them in the queue for later. So feel free to do what you need to do. And Callie, thanks for monitoring. All right, so let's go ahead and kind of start diving into the different components of your organization dashboard. So the first tab that we talked about is your overview tab, and this is where you can view your registration status, any kind of overall giving event announcements that might be leveraged. You can see some of your recent metrics, and then the most important thing I wanted to draw attention here is your to-do list. So the to-do list is a really cool feature that we have built into Mighty Cause that kind of walks you through the baseline items that we would encourage you to complete in order to have what we consider a completely built out profile. So if I pop back over here to this, again, demo organization, and let's pretend I'm a donor, right? So I land on this page and I immediately see, right? I see this header image, I see their logo, I have brand recognition, right? I know who they are. I scroll down and I see, a story about who they are, why they're fundraising, why they're participating in this giving event, and what they're hoping to get out of it. And so as a donor, I'm landing on this fully built out page. I immediately have donor trust because it looks like there's a real person behind here who has taken time and effort to put this together. Versus if you were to not do this and I land on a page that has, no image back here, this is just a white space, there's no story, odds of me donating and giving to your nonprofit are very minimal because I don't really land on this page and feel like you're a real nonprofit or something that I can really trust. So this to-do list that we have is geared at making sure that you're paying attention to and adding content into the areas of your profile that we think are most important to ensure a successful experience for your donors. So the first item in your to-do list is your logo. And so we kind of just showed that here. We have this logo. It is a 1-to-1 kind of square aspect ratio. Most nonprofits have a variation of their logo that fits that size because that is like your typical like Facebook logo size, your typical Instagram logo size. Worst case, if your logo is not more of a square ratio, I've seen a lot of nonprofits who might upload that into like Canva for free and they just reorient it so that it will fit here. But that's the first thing that you're going to be prompted to fill out on your profile. The next thing is putting in your about section, and we'll dive into that a little bit more here in a second. But when I refer to your about section, this is kind of that content here where any donor or user traffic is reading about your organization and what you're hoping to fundraise for WCIL Gives. The next area is your banner image, which we see right up here. You know, we're thinking similar to most social media profiles having a banner image or your website. You know, I would recommend that if you have, this is again our demo site, so this is just like super fuzzy image. This is probably a really great example of like what a not great banner image looks like, right? Like this is really fuzzy. I can't tell what's going on here. Not really putting the best face forward for my nonprofit. So I would suggest that if your nonprofit organization has some like engaging photos that are high quality for brand recognition, put them right back here. We also have a pretty cool feature that when you go to upload your banner image, we have like a gallery of just like miscellaneous high quality images that you can put in the back here too. So depending on your capacity and what you have, that might be something that you utilize. And then last but not least, we recommend that you put information on your thank you page. So that will be the page that once donors make a successful donation to your organization through WCIL Gives, they land on a confirmation page, very similar to, you know, any online purchase you've ever made. You hit a confirmation page to let you know that everything went through successfully. This page is, I think, a really great opportunity for you to have that first touch point with the donor and let them know that you appreciate their support. So let's pop back over here to the back end of this profile, and I was going to show you that to-do list. So what we can see here is that your organization to-do list lives right up here in the corner. It is a smart to-do list. So as you complete various areas of the to-do list, it will auto check itself to signify to you that that is all set. What I love about the to-do list is that you can actually click on one of the items and it'll take you to the area on the back end of your dashboard where you need to complete that task. So if I were to say, you know, I want to set up my thank you page, I click on that and it takes me directly to where my thank you page is to be able to enter that information. So the goal of the to-do list is to, again, ensure that you have built out a profile page that you know, promotes donor trust and gives a great seamless donor experience, but also to help you successfully and quickly be able to navigate the back end of your dashboard to complete some areas that we have identified as like hot ticket items to allow you to be successful. So that's kind of my spiel on the to-do list. I just think it's, again, a really great feature. And for those of you who have, again, limited capacity and you have a lot going on right now with your organization and your fundraising efforts, focusing on the items on this to-do list will ensure that you at least have the baseline items completed. So that is really the first place that you should start.
And Natalie, I just wanted to hop in and say also, if you have a lot going on or you have an event this summer that's around the same time, if this is not, if this, you know, creates some confusion for your donors, or if this is just not a good idea for you this year, we do not want anyone to feel obligated to participate. So this is just something to maybe add an extra event for those who don't want to plan a full event, who need that extra boost in the middle of the year. We're trying something new again. But if you already had something going, there is no pressure. If you want to sit back and see how it goes this year and join in next year, we understand. So when you said something about, you know, if you're dealing with another campaign right now, I just wanted to throw that out there. Because sometimes we put things out there, Tracy Family Foundation, and people are like, oh, they put it out there, we have to participate. It'll be great. we want it to be great, but if it doesn't feel right for you this year, no pressure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Very good point. Perfect. All right, so let's dive a little bit into customizing our profile. So if we go to, let's go again, just back into the back end of this demo organization. This little tab here, organization page, is where we can see what your organization page looks like for your donors. I have the share settings on my Zoom screen right now. You can't see above this, but this page is actually where you'll grab the link that you'll be able to share with your donors. So that will be the direct link to your organization page. So when you're on your organization page tab, the URL that's in your browser is the link that you would want to share out with folks to be able to drive them to your page to be able to fundraise for WCIL Gives. Some of the first things that we want to talk about while we're on our organization page. One thing that I love about the Mighty Cause platform is that it allows you to do on-screen editing. So you're able to see in real time what your page looks like as you make adjustments to it. So when I'm on this page, up here in the top right corner, I have this edit mode area. So if you find yourself on your organization page and you're like, I can't remember what that lady said that I need to do to be able to make edits. If you're looking around and you don't see a bunch of like very clear, like pencil and edit icons, that probably means that you don't have edit mode turned on. So up here in the top is where I can toggle on edit mode. And as you can see, I now have all these little gray icons that are prompting me to be able to make adjustments to various areas of my organization page. So that's really our first step to be able to do that. So when we're thinking about your organization page, right, this is going to be the face of your presence on WCIL Gives. Really driving home the importance of making sure that you spend a little bit of time customizing this, adding your branding images, putting in an engaging story about who your organization is and what you're hoping to fundraise for this specific event. So that's something that we want to do. So the first thing that we probably are going to dive into here, if I remember the flow of this presentation, is yes, editing your banner image and adding a theme color. So we talked about this a little bit ago, but you want to upload your logo. So again, that's that 1-to-1 square aspect ratio. And then a little plug to, that free option that you can do on Canva, which is, if your logo doesn't fit that size, I find Canva to just be a really, really helpful free tool to be able to make some adjustments if that's the only kind of like design software that you're able to access. You can resize that logo and then be able to upload. The second is uploading that banner image, or again, you can choose from our gallery of kind of, basic but high quality images to be able to put behind your logo here. You also have the option to be able to, if you want, you can add a filter and kind of filter color and strength to that background image. So if there's something where you're like, it's kind of busy and it's taking everything over, you could add like an overlay of like a darker or lighter color and decide like how much and how bright you want that image to be. And then the last thing that I wanted to draw attention to on this page is the ability to set a theme color for your page. So if we're here, again, I'm in edit mode. I click on this little kind of, color option. I can pick my theme color and you'll be able to see that that theme color is pulled into like my donate button because this is purple for this demo organization. It pulls into my demo button or donate button, my fundraise button, and then some key elements across my page will pull in that theme color. So again, just a really kind of nice way to integrate your organization branding into your WCIL Gives organization page. Really important, right, for donors when they land on your page to have that brand recognition to feel like, oh, this is the right space, right? So if I know your organization outside of WCIL Gives and your branding colors are like black and red, but I land on your page and I see like lime green and this like weird logo, I might in my head be like, this must not be the organization I know. So I would just recommend, taking some time, making this page look like your org so that way donors feel and trust that they are still, donating and giving to the same place that they recognize outside of WCIL Gives. Our next one, I think this is a good timely answer because I just saw a question come through about setting a goal on your organization page. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that right now. So first, let's talk about our page metrics. And so most of you probably who are going to participate haven't interacted with Mighty Cause in the past. If you are an existing Mighty Cause kind of customer and you use our software for year-round fundraising, or you've used it to participate participate in another giving event, welcome back. You might need to scope your metrics back to the start of WCIL Gives, but probably most of you are going to start at 0. So I'll show you here. If we come and we hit this pencil icon, you have the ability to put a start date for when you want your metrics to start calculating. Again, for most of you, you're already going to have this as 0 because you haven't raised any funds through Mighty Cause and you have no donors to be able to represent. But if you are someone who has used our platform outside of this, we want to make sure that you set your start date to be the start time of WCIL Gives. That way, when donors land on your page, it looks like you have raised 0, right? Because we want to give them a true representation of how much you have raised through this specific fundraising campaign. Other things to mention here in this area is that you as the organization admin can decide whether or not you want to show your amount raised, your number of donors, or both. I have some organizations that I've seen that have participated in giving events where you're really focused on, growing new donors, so reaching new donors and retaining existing donors. And so your primary focus is on donor count and not so much dollars raised. And so sometimes I have organizations that might just highlight the amount of donors that they have at the top. More typically, it's going to be your amount raised and your number of donors, but we do have that option for you to be able to decide which ones you want to be able to have. And then the second thing that we have down here is your organization goal. So if you do have a specific goal for WCIL Gives, so that would be your donor goal or your dollar goal, you can enable this feature and then put in a dollar goal. And that will be, let's see if I put that up to, this is a very big dollar goal, but we'll just do it for the purposes of today. This is a live kind of, engaging feature that will continue to track completion towards your dollar goal as you receive donations for WCIL Gives. So I think what's really neat about this feature, if it aligns with your fundraising strategy, is that it shows donors, and I think it keeps them motivated because they can land on your page and see how close or how far you are away from completing the goal that you've established for this fundraising campaign. What's great about this feature too is that it is something that you can edit on the fly if needed. So if you aren't sure what's a realistic kind of dollar goal for you during WCIL Gives, you could set this as something much lower. And as it gets closer throughout that 4-day campaign, you can come in here and edit and continue to, up that goal as you see the progress of donations coming in. So that's super helpful. But again, if you are more of an organization that is focused on donors for this year, you can click this pencil icon and you can actually hide that dollar goal and it won't track dollars that come in. So totally optional, but an engaging feature if you do have a dollar goal, which you would like to kind of motivate donors by having that on your page. Perfect. So what's our next thing? So our next thing is telling your story. We have a really great, inline editor. It's going to feel very similar to a lot of the kind of website editing features that probably most of you have used for your, year-round organization pages. You can add formatting like headers, lists, bold, italicize, really everything that you can do in kind of those like, text editor features that are on different kind of websites and platforms. You also can add images and videos if you would like, and you can create a custom tab if there's more information you want to share. So a really common question that I have that comes to me and comes into our support team is like, what should I put here and how much is too much? So my typical suggestion to nonprofits that are participating in a giving event is that, if you have a lot of information that you want to share, but we don't want to overwhelm donors, right? Like we should have this main about tab of your profile really being focused on like a brief overview of your organization, and then specifically letting donors know what you're fundraising for during WCIL Gives. So is there a current fundraising campaign that's top of mind? Are you looking to close out on like a funding goal for a particular project that you're doing? Are you I always go to animals, and this is animals and I love animals. Are you like an animal shelter and you're working on building like a new component of your shelter and like you need to hit a funding goal to get there? So I think, again, briefly talking about your organization and then giving specifics on what does a donation right now mean for my organization. Some of you, most of you, all of you have really engaging stories about, how did your nonprofit come into existence? what cause are you impacting? What are you doing in your local communities? Why does your organization matter? Those types of things. If you feel compelled to add more information to your profile that you want donors to be able to read about your organization, I would recommend utilizing an additional tab on your profile. And that way your donors can opt into reading more about your org instead of being forced to read like a really long story, right? Our goal is to have them come here, be able to read about you, know what you're fundraising for, and make a quick donation. So we're really trying to limit those barriers to entry and those hurdles that make the donation process really long. So if you have more content that you want to put, maybe the history of your organization, maybe highlighting your board members, those types of things, I would recommend adding an additional tab where you can put more info. And that way, when somebody lands here, they'll see this by default and they can opt into a longer kind of, user perusing experience if desired. And then I see a question, can a video be embedded within the about section or just text? Yes, you can embed a video. So up here we have in our little editor, right? We can bold, italicize, all those fun things. We can pick, large headings, small headings, how we want to orient things. We want lists, those types of things. We can insert links and hyperlink. We can embed an image, and then we can embed a video as well. So those are all options that you have. You just kind of hover over this menu and you'll be able to see what those options are. Great question. So that's kind of telling your story in a nutshell. Again, just my recommendation is keeping everything really, I think, streamlined on this first tab, because that's what's going to show to donors by default. And then if you feel like there's more information you want to share, utilizing this custom tab. I've also heard from nonprofits who sometimes feel like maybe they are a bit wordier, like the nonprofit admin, than most people are. And so sometimes they'll put together their profile page and then they'll share that with like their maybe someone that's affiliated with the organization, or they'll share it with like, a trusted donor, something like that, and be like, can you read through this and let me know, like, is it too much? What's important for you to want to know as a donor? It's always good, again, right, to proofread and have a second set of eyes and suggestions on what content we add in this page. So that would be a good suggestion. And I've heard a lot of nonprofits who do that as well. Cool. So that is kind of how to tell your story. And then we have a section that allows you to add some media to your page too, if you would like to. So let's talk about just like your page functionality in general. So as I scroll down on the page, I see some of these areas that are like open, empty boxes, right? And so that essentially just means that these are components of my profile page that I can decide to enable and have visible, or I can keep them hidden as they are right now. So if I scroll down here and let's say I want to add the giving activities, because I want you to be able to see which donors have given to my page, I can turn that on, and now I can see a donor wall that is added to my page, which shows giving activities. So donors that have supported my organization. Likewise, if you have something that's visible on your page that you decide that you no longer want to have there, you can just click this pencil icon and you can click to be able to hide that section. So that is something that's completely within your control to be able to have or utilize. Down here at the bottom is where I wanted to show you this media gallery. And so, in some cases, it makes sense to really embed, maybe images within your story section itself. You might also just have like a bunch of like really engaging images from programs that you've run or other things that you want to just be able to add to the page for users to be able to see and kind of engage with you a bit more, like an emotional kind of connection, right? So if we scroll down here into the media gallery, this is where you're able to add media. So you can directly upload, images and things that you would like to have fixed to your page. They just live in a bit of a lower section. um, Perfect. Let's go back over here. And then the other thing that you can do as well is you can optimize your social share settings. That's tough. That's like that little riddle that or that little tongue twister, right? So when we're on our page, if we come over here into this settings area, and then I think it lives in general settings. Yes. So in this general settings area of your profile, this is where you can decide what your custom URL is. So by default, when you register to participate in WCIL Gives, you will have an organization kind of slug that is added for you based off of like the legal name of your nonprofit. If there is something else that you would want this kind of back half of your organization URL to be, you can come to this page and change that. I would just recommend that this isn't something that you're doing frequently, right? We want this to be a one-time change. And that way, once you start sharing your page with the public, you're not messing with that URL where people are supposed to go to. So if this is something that you want to review as one of your first steps when you have access to the back end of your page, that's something that you can look over. Down here too is what I wanted to show you is that let's say your organization is kind of known as some different things in your community and you're not really sure how donors would type in search to be able to find you. You can add alternate search names. So that way, if let's say I just recently underwent like a name change or I merged with another nonprofit and I anticipate that some donors are going to be looking for me based off of my old name, you can add in that alternate search name. And that way, if somebody typed that into search, your organization page would still pop up as one of those results. Uh, but what I wanted to focus on here was the social sharing area. This is where, when somebody copies your organization link and shares it on Facebook or Instagram or Slack or really anywhere that would allow kind of an image preview, you have some control as the nonprofit what is going to be visible. So you can edit that social share kind of preview image that gets pulled in. And then you can also edit, what the title and then the description that is pulled in as well. So some organizations don't really care as much about this. Some have a really strong brand presence and really want to have control over that messaging. So this is the area of your page where you would be able to make those adjustments. Perfect. And then kind of moving on to the latter half of our conversation here today is talking about reports, so donations and disbursements, those types of things. So the Mighty Cause platform will notify admins when donations are made, which is super exciting. In the reports area is where you're able to access, donor information in real time, and you can download donation reports. And you can also see more information about disbursements. So when your organization received them, what was included in those disbursements, those types of things. So if we scroll over here, and we'll go ahead and go into that. So in this reports area, into donations, by default, your donation report will always default to the last 30 days for the time period. Obviously, we've been poking around this page. This page has received donations. So if I come here and I actually just change this to like the last year to date or something, or the last 12 months, those types of things, usually donations will pull in. This is demo, so you never really know how things are going to happen live. But just so you know, this is where you'd be able to filter, like if there's a specific day you wanted to look at donations for, those types of things. In your donation report is where you'll see more information about donors that gave to your organization. So you'll have this like quick view here that allows you to see the donor name. You'll be able to see the amount, the date that they made the donation, the type of donation, if they gave to like what campaign. So if they gave directly to your organization page, or maybe they gave to a peer-to-peer fundraiser, they'll be able to see the donor's email. And so this is kind of just like a quick glimpse at donations that have come through. For a more detailed report, if you come up here and click the download button, that's where you'll be able to download like a full detailed report of your donations. So you'll be able to see more of a breakdown about, how much did they pay? How much were the fees that were applied? Did the donor cover those fees? If there's any kind of survey questions that are being asked of the donor in the donation flow, you'll be able to see information about that as well. You'll be able to see their address and kind of everything that we collect about the donation. But this is just kind of in order for it to fit nicely on a screen, depending on if you're on a desktop or a mobile device, it's more of a quick view. But for a full report, you can always download that here as well. And in the interest of time, we'll keep kind of moving along. And then one of the last things that I wanted to kind of chat through was the checkout flow. So if we come over here into this checkout area, we have 3 different things that we can customize. The first is our donation form. And so you as the organization have the option, if you would like to determine what your kind of set donation levels are that donors are being prompted to give to your organization. So you can decide not to utilize any of these, which which is perfectly fine, or we allow you to have up to 5 donation levels that are included for your donors. What's really important to note is that regardless of what you put here in these custom donation levels, they always have the option to give whatever amount they would like to, as long as it's above that $5 minimum. So we can see here, right, we're prompting donors to give 25, 50, 75, 100, but if I came here and I'm a lower capacity donor, I'd always just be able to type in $5 and be able to give that. So you have the option here as the organization to decide what, if any, kind of custom donation levels that you want to be able to include. The next area here is that thank you page, which we talked about a little bit earlier. And so once a donor makes a successful donation to your organization page, they would be able to they would be prompted with the thank you page, right? So it's letting them know that their donation was successful. And it's really that first touch point from your nonprofit to appreciate that donor for their support. So again, this kind of inline editor, we can bold, italicize, underline, those types of things. If you had like a thank you image that you wanted to put in there, or if there's a thank you video that you wanted to embed, you can do that. We also have a little call to action button that you can decide to utilize. If it's just default, this will take the donor back to your organization page on the WCIL Gives platform. If you wanted to instead to link the donor to maybe your year-round, organization page, fundraising page, you could use it as a custom button. You can add button text, and then you can tell it where you want that button to go. I think this is a great option to have here because it keeps the donor engaged with your organization. And so maybe you're routing them back to your page to just say like, check in throughout like the 4-day campaign, give again, those types of things. Or maybe you say like, see more programming offerings, and then that clicks again to your regular organization page, but a great option to be able to utilize. And then last but not least on this screen is the donation receipt. So most components of the donation receipt are going to be automatically included by the Mighty Cause platform. So we will be responsible for pulling in, the donor name, the gift amount, those types of things, any kind of legal donation information that needs to be included on a receipt. What you as the organization can do is you can add some additional information, like a thank you message that gets included onto the receipt. So if you type in kind of a custom message here, and click save, you'll automatically be able to see what that receipt would look like to your donors. And if you wanted to, you could send a test receipt to yourself just to make sure that the language you included appears how you would like it to. In the interest of time, let's keep going. Let's see what else I can get through. So yeah, we kind of talked about like post checkout customization. So I think we're good there on the thank you experience. And then really the last thing that I wanted to touch on was just the settings that are available to you. So if we come down here into our settings area, we want to look at admins. And so this is where you could come in and be able to, like I said, one person is responsible for registering your organization, but it's likely that more people at your nonprofit will want to have access to the back end to help build out your page, pull donation reports, those types of things. So here in this admin area is where you can click add new admin, and you can add folks that need to have access to the back end of your organization page. Some other things, right? We touched on your general settings, so updating your URL, those types of things that live here. What else did I want to talk about? And then setting up your desired disbursement settings. So here in this disbursement settings area is where you're able to set up how you would like to receive your funds from the Mighty Cause platform. So we really, really, really encourage nonprofits to sign up for electronic fund transfer. And what that allows us to do is really just be able to directly deposit donations into your organization's bank account. If that is not something that works for you, we also have the option to be able to give you the funds that you raise through WCIL Gives via check. And if that's the case, checks will be delivered to your legal mailing address unless you signify and communicate to us that it needs to be delivered somewhere else, in which case our support team will just need to collect some information from you to make sure that that's like a pre-approved and checked place that we can send that check to. So I would say look at this disbursement settings area, and we also have a good amount of information about choosing your disbursement settings on the nonprofit toolkit too, which I think is a good segue to the last page that I really wanted to highlight before we go into the question and answer section, is the nonprofit toolkit. So here we are on the WCIL Gives website. We have up here in the menu, we have this for nonprofits area, which will give you direct access to any resources that Callie and I have created specifically for you as a nonprofit admin. So the most important one is this nonprofit toolkit. So here is really where I can learn, see, and do everything that I need to relate it to WCIL Gives. So I have a direct link to the Mighty Cause Support Library. I have a full breakdown of all the important dates for WCIL Gives. You know, when did registration open, registering for the training that we're in right now, when is registration closing, those types of things. Some quick answers to some common questions that nonprofits send in, and then really a complete walkthrough of what do I do to get started. So a just really pared down version of some of the things we talked about today. Register to participate, access your page, share your page, link to the donation form. Scrolling down here, we have some steps to fundraising success. So we've linked out to some resources that we think are really helpful as you move through, you know, registration, building out your page, preparing to communicate to your donors that you're participating, wanting to drive donors to your page. So I would really suggest that you scroll through all these tabs and utilize the resources that we have hand selected to be included here, because we think that they are probably the most important resources that you really need in order to be able to, again, be successful for WCIL Gives. And then we go into a little bit more detail about peer-to-peer fundraising, what it is, how to do it, some information on matching grants, and then again, linking you back to our Mighty Cause resource library. So I would really, really, really recommend, I think, as some action items from this call are: one, if you have not yet registered for WCIL Gives and you are interested in doing so, go to the website and get yourself registered. And then two, if you haven't done so already, come to the nonprofit toolkit, start poking around, see what resources are available, and work through those. And if, of course, if you have any additional questions, this last slide here has the contact information for the Mighty Cause support team. So Mighty Cause is obviously the technology platform behind WCIL Gives. Our team is best, you know, we're going to be your best case reach out for any kind of tech questions that you have about your profile for WCIL Gives. So maybe you're going through the registration process and you're stuck on something, or you're on the back end of your profile and you can't figure out what you're supposed to do next. You want to have peer-to-peer fundraisers, but there's a setting that's kind of tripping you up and you have questions about why it's working the way that it is. Reach out to our support team and we will be very happy to help you. So you can email us at support@mightycause.com. We are available Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. And then we also do have phone support. I would probably recommend utilizing email more so than phone, just because I feel like through email we can send screenshots, we can get a better understanding of what's tripping you up, versus phone calls sometimes a little tough because you can't really share and see things the same way, but that is available if needed. And then last but not least, while you're on the back end and kind of navigating your organization page, you'll see this little question mark that follows you everywhere you go. If you click on it, it is actually our Smart Support Center. And so it knows what page you're on when you click on that to look for advice. And it's going to suggest some articles based off of what you're currently viewing. So you can see I'm right now over kind of my metrics area. And so it's suggesting a support article like how to add a goal and progress bar to your organization page, how to reset my profile metrics, how to customize my organization page. And so if I go into the back end of like my donation report, and if we give it a little second, and then I maybe refresh and try to do it live in demo. But if I am here instead, I will now see some suggested articles about donation management. So this is a really, really, really great resource because it's going to start trying to answer questions for you. You can also type in keywords to be able to kind of pull up some resources that we have at Mighty Cause, or you can click on this contact area, which puts you just into direct contact with our support team. So lots of ways to be able to reach Mighty Cause should you have any questions. So I know that was a good amount of content to go through for today. I appreciate everybody that was able to stay with us the whole time and really be able to go through everything. I, again, will have this full recording and the slide deck available in the nonprofit toolkit probably by end of day today, kind of midday tomorrow. But I know we've hit the end of our time. I have some flexibility in my schedule, so I can hang out for a few more minutes if we have, you know, questions that still need to be answered. I'm more than happy to tackle some of those. And if you need to go because you have other things going on in your day, again, we really appreciate your time. Both the Mighty Cause team and the Tracy Family Foundation team want to be able to be here to support you, to make sure that you have the best possible experience participating in WCIL Give. So if you have any questions, if you need additional support from us, let us know. We're always working on new resources to add to the nonprofit toolkit. Callie's constantly updating the frequently asked questions based off of, question trends that she has coming to her. So we want this to be an evolving kind of set of resources. So the more that you share with us, the more we can do to support you. So thanks for your time. And if